Welcome to the Visionary Voice. I'm Lori DeGardi, and today I'm with Allyne Henesey. Allyne is a Soulcologist. Heart-centered executives and entrepreneurs hire Allyne to discover their divine blueprint through coaching and spiritual consultations. If you're ready to love what you do, love who you are, and live it up based on your strengths, passions, and divine blueprint, Allyne Soulcology sessions are for you. She hosts Emerald Circle retreats that enlighten and energize the everyday superwoman, and she leads manifestation masterminds to supercharge the creators of the world. Wow, Allyne, that is so energy-packed, powerful stuff in your bio. Welcome to the Visionary Voice.
Oh, thank you so much, Lori. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, that's energy rich, right? That's what we need in this world.
It is what we need in this world. It is. And you certainly bring it. We could not even start because we were cracking up laughing because the dynamic of Allyne's zesty energy, it's so contagious. So I'm so happy to have you here with us today. And let's get on with the show.
Fabulous.
All right, so Allyne, what does leading with personal power look like in your life?
It's a really great question, Lori. The most important thing is to lead with authenticity and to know that Spirit lives within us and around us, and it expresses through us. So for me, that is the biggest kernel of truth that I could ever hope to really know in this world. And when I get that, and I know that, and I remember it throughout the moments of the day, because it's easy to forget, right? But when I bring myself back and remember who I am, then I'm better able to shine a light on other people and to help them see the light within themselves. And that's what it's all about. It's helping each other, right? And shining that light.
So leading with personal power then is you acknowledging the spirit that works through you and helping others do the same. Is that what leading with personal power looks like in your life?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Running through me, around me, and as me.
Okay.
I see spirit in me. I see spirit in you, or the divine source energy. It's whatever name you want to call that. But when we can recognize it and lead from that place, wow, we're really being service-based leaders at that point.
Okay, so I want to repeat that because I really like what you said, if we can remember this. Spirit running through you, around you, and
as you.
And as you.
Yeah,
I like that. So write that down. That would be a great sticky note on your refrigerator or your computer screen. But really what it would be great is a practice. Yeah. And that's you leading with personal power. And that's you being your everyday superwoman, helping others do the same. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about, was there a time in your life that you did not lead with personal power? And was there something that was the catalyst then that made you go from not leading with personal power to leading with personal power?
You just want one example?
Well,
I'm teasing. Yes. Of course there was a time. I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. And I've had a lot of human experiences that I recognize, even in the moment, I recognized I was not leading from my power place. And it had to do with a relationship with a boyfriend from the past, and I knew it wasn't a healthy relationship for me. Now, granted, it was only a few months, and I was trying to figure things out, but my intuition was screaming at me saying, this is not right. It felt off, and the way that I knew that was the energy in my body was vibrating at a chaotic kind of a space. It was like a roller coaster, but it was more frantic, if that's the right word. And that put me into a dark night of the soul then, because it ended right when my mother died, and he decided not to come to the funeral. So, wow, that was very transformational for me, and it was a spiritual crisis, because I think that every time we don't lead with our own power, we are making a spiritual choice, and we need to call back those pieces of our soul that were fragmented from the hurt and the pain or the trauma, right? So what I did at that point was I was already on my knees praying. I'm in grief, losing my mother, then in grief, losing a relationship with him, and he had children as well. So what did I do? I did what I know what to do. I went back into a deep spiritual practice. And I was, I felt like I was in a dark cave at times. Like, oh my God, what's out there? Are you there, God? And I was mad at God. And what I eventually did was I signed up for seminary. I went to a seminary for 2 years, and then I became an ordained interfaith minister, which had been a calling that I've had since I was in high school. And I finally got around to it because of this dark night that I was in. Also, looking back at the times in my life, this one in particular, when I didn't lead with power, it was really about my own growth. So looking back, I can see that I grew exponentially through that pain. And because I have felt that pain, because I've had the Celtic heart, that's what I call it. It's the women as women, and I'm not saying that men don't have this, but we have this capacity to feel such grief, the grief of the world. And I was totally in it, and I needed to get out of it. But because I felt that, right, it made me become even more alive and feel more joy, so that when I really started doing more of the spiritual practices and becoming more of that everyday mystic, then it's like you're falling in love with life again. And so that was the greatest gift for me right there. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing you say is that a time in your life that is really highlighted for you when you were not leading with personal power was when you were in a relationship that wasn't healthy.
Yes.
And it was exacerbated by your mother's passing. So your heart was cracked open, and that was your pivot point. And you did what you know to do, is what I heard you do, which is go into your deep spiritual practice. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so in that, you knew that there was something more for you. I mean, I heard you say that the energy was fragmented, like your soul was fragmented, and you were on your knees. And was it during that time, or when you started up your deep spiritual practice again in the midst of all of that heartache and grief, that you knew there was something more for you? When did you know there's something more than what is happening here for me?
I knew it immediately. Now, I've been on the path for a very long time, so I couldn't deny it. I tried, but I really knew, even before my mother died, I knew that there was my soul, my higher self, the inner wisdom was already telling me, hey, this is just a little stopping point along the way. Recognize the lesson and move on. It's your choice. This is what my higher self was saying. It's your choice. Do you want to be in suffering? Or are you going to accept and move on? Well, I chose the suffering for a while, as many of us do. And we don't like to be there, but it's part of life. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we don't have to be in the suffering so long? Yeah, that would be fabulous. So I like to help people with that. But yeah, I also acknowledge that we are where we need to be. And oftentimes we need to feel what we're feeling and not be in denial of any of that.
That all sounds like a spiritual practice, right?
Yeah.
And I also heard you say that, like, you knew immediately. There was that deep knowing, that inner wisdom, your higher self told you that there's something more for you. And I see that we all have that, but we're not all connected to it. Or what I even heard you say is that you had a choice, and you chose, like, I know that's there. I know there's something more, but I'm going to stick with this, even though you suffered. And many of us do that.
Yeah.
Or most of us, all of us. I mean, you probably have done that as well. And that it was your deep spiritual practice that helped show you the light.
Yeah.
And have you on your way to a healthier relationship. Okay.
Yeah, and it was really about building the relationship up with Source again. So it didn't take me too long. I took a few months, and then I went to seminary. So, when as soon as I could enroll, I did. Yeah.
So you took it. I mean, some of us have our spiritual practices, but you made it a part of your profession, would you say?
Oh, absolutely.
So you cannot ignore that anymore.
Yes, I had the calling to be a minister back when I was in high school, and did everything to go around that calling. But we all have a ministry, right? My ministry just happens to be with spirituality, because to me that's the juiciness of life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So is it correct to call you Reverend Allyne Henesey?
You could. I am a reverend. Yes,
okay.
Yes.
So Reverend Allyne Henesey. I want to make note of that. Okay. So with everything you shared with us and things that we don't know about you, there's a unique essence of you. And we've heard, we can hear that coming through. And yet I would like to hear from you. If you were to define or say in a few words what your unique something more is that makes you lead with personal power in the way that you do, what would that be? Your unique something more.
I think it's that I have this zest for life, and I feel this fire in my soul, and it's a good kind. It's not the crazy kind of fire, but it's a beautiful, alive, robust, fiery energy, which really it's a spice to life, right? And I think I bring the zest to people's lives. And also I see patterns. So I love dream interpretation, for example, and archetypes. I'm an archetypal practitioner. So I'm seeing patterns all the time, and I view life with a mystic's eye and a poet's heart, I think.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So that's the part, and that's what we need, is we need more beauty and more rhythm and harmony, and we can find that in the words that we speak, in the way that we move our bodies, and the way that we interact with each other. So that's what I like to bring when I'm working with people in my Soulcology sessions and during the retreats.
Okay, so your unique something more is this zest for life and seeing life with a mystic's eye and a poet's heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I've never heard that before. Are those your words?
Yes.
Because that's you. That's your unique something more.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that. I really do love that.
Thank you.
Okay, so what are the top 3 leadership qualities? That's the question I normally ask, and yet I'm sensing that the question that is really accurate or appropriate for you is, what are the top 3 visionary qualities that you would offer our viewers to help them lead with more personal power?
Yeah. So, it's rather interesting because I also have over 30 years experience in corporate America. So I have this balance of this professional life and what's expected in this 5-sensory world. And then I have this corporate mystic perspective, right? And I think that my top strength is strategy, and it's the Athena energy, Lori. So it's all about being confident and being in your inner wisdom and leading from that place. We all have Athena within us. It's just a matter of tapping in to that energy and saying, you know what, I got this. So strategy is number 1. Number 2 is connectedness. And the connectedness means that we see things, or I see things, as interrelated, right? So people and perspectives, places, they're all connected in this beautiful web of life, an archetypical web. There's some beautiful studies on this. The Hindus have a beautiful teaching about the Indra, and it's like a net, and that's how I view this connectedness. Because what you do matters to me, and what I do matters to you. And what you do, even though you're not here in the room with us, what you're doing right now matters to us. Because everything is so connected, and when we can really see that, then we're up-leveling the entire energy of the planet, right? And you can, if you want to go even on a smaller scale, you change the energy of your family, because you start here in the heart. You find peace here first, and then you can share that peace out in the community in which you live, in which you work, and then it just exponentially expands, right? And that's connectedness. When we don't have that sense of connectedness, that's where we have loneliness and isolation. People that have had a dark night of the soul understand what it feels like to be isolated, to be alone. And even if you're in a house full of people, but you're going through a dark night or you're in major grief, you don't feel the connectedness because we step out of it. So what we want to do is invite, as a leader, right? Invite people back in, invite yourself back in, so that we can see the connectedness between all beings. And the third is positivity. So, and that's where the zest for life comes in, because positivity is so important. We can view the glass as half full or half empty. And I view it as half full. Actually, I view it as all full because, half is water and the other half is air. And, I've done a lot of...
Well, excuse me.
Oh,
it could be tequila or beer or champagne or orange juice, but go ahead, sorry.
Absolutely. A little bit of wine. Yeah, absolutely. But the positivity, I think, is really important. And I've done a lot of, I have a background in positive psychology. It's all research-based studies. And it is the place, I love positive psychology because it helps bring spirituality and science together in this beautiful dance of mingling and just dancing and this beautiful, this lovely energy. So anyway, positivity is my third strap.
Okay. Yeah. So the first was strategy, and you brought in Athena, and I always see an owl when I think of Athena.
Absolutely.
And the wisdom. So strategy, connection, and I loved what you said about connection, and when we don't have that, how we can feel alone and lonely, but when we are connected to each other, because who we are and what we do matter to each other, we can change lives, our own lives, or the planet, right?
Yeah.
And the third one was positivity, a quality of being positive, where what your background is science and spirituality. And so those are the three qualities of being that you would like to suggest to the women watching the Visionary Voice to bring into their lives.
Yes, absolutely. So you have Athena with the strategy. With the connectedness, you could almost bring in the energy of Persephone. Persephone is the energy of hope in springtime. And so that is connected to all of life and growth, the dark and the light, honestly, because she goes underground for 6 months out of the year, right? So she has this whole cycle. So that is the connectedness to life. And then the positivity would almost be a Hestia energy. So Hestia is the goddess of spirituality. Back in the Greek days, before you would have a party, a gathering of any sort, you would light a fire in honor of Hestia, right? So when you invite her in, it's welcoming, it's setting the intention to have a positive gathering. And that's what I'd like us all to do, Lori. And I know that you're all about this, about spreading positivity and spreading this intention of love and connectedness and light out in the world. So I just want to say thank you for being you, because I know that you bring this to the table every day.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, you're welcome.
Yeah.
And one of the qualities that you mentioned that I have more recently incorporated into my life is the energy of strategy. That was never an intentional thing. I think I had a spiritual strategy, but it wasn't so much clear to me. But now my strategies are clear, and I love that there's a spiritual connection, because strategy sometimes is this masculine or professional, three-dimensional, business, political strategy. But there's actually a spiritual connection to the strategy. So I appreciate that you brought that. Okay.
Yes.
So how can people find out more about what you do? Where can they find you on the web?
Well, they can find me on my website. It's AllyneHenesey.com. And I'd be happy to hear from people. And I would just like to say, we have to remember to love what we do, love who we are, and bring it on. Live it up.
Live it up.
Live it up. Live it up.
Okay, but before we go,
Yeah.
I want to spell your name so that we can, or you can spell your name, your website, AllyneHenesey.com. So please spell that so that we can find you easy.
Yes, so it's AllyneHenesey.com, AllyneHenesey.com.
I shared in your intro that you do Emerald Circle retreats, you have some manifestation masterminds. what's coming up next? What's the next type of event that you're hosting or leading?
I'm really looking forward to hosting Emerald Circle retreats. So I will be setting those up about 4 times a year. It's going to be a small group of women. It is, you have to be the right fit for the group, but we really want to bring all of this on, right? We want to raise the roof, raise the energy that we bring to our own lives and to all those whom we love. So those Emerald Circle retreats are going to be rocking it, Lori, rocking it.
I think I want to go. I hope I'm on the right.
Oh, yes.
I hope I'm the right
Please
fit.
do. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, darling, you are.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so will we be able to go to your website and learn more about that now or eventually, the Emerald Circle retreats?
Yes, there'll be information forthcoming on that. Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Wow,
So-
thank you so much for being part of the Visionary Voice. I really enjoyed having you, and I'm sure you have loved listening to Allyne as well.
Thank you. So can we say it together, Lori?
What are we going to say together?
The lines, right?
The
love,
lines. What you do.
love what you do,
do.
love who you are,
and live
it up. Thank you, darling.
Bye. Come to the
Bye.
next episode in The Visionary Voice.
Bye
Bye-bye.